News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Utter hell unleashed. Utter sheer hell on earth in many, many places in America right now, with the unbelievable toll that Hurricane Helene has put on the state of Florida, the state of Georgia particularly, as well as the state of North Carolina. Complete devastation. Actually, it's confirmed around 133 dead at last time I saw, and it actually could go up to 600. Reports are saying now it could go up to 600 dead from this storm. And where was Kamala Harris yesterday? She was at a fundraiser in Los Angeles, eating beef Wellington at the posh JW Marriott with Alanis Morissette, Demi Lovato, Stevie Wonder, Jessica Alba, Lily Tomlin, former Disney chief and Democrat fundraiser Jeffrey Katzenberg, and raised more than $28 million. And she said, quote, "Oh, it's good to be home." Meantime, as Trump said with his visit in Valdosta, he actually went to a devastated area today, as it were, and said that they have left you stranded. He said this to the press, but publicly, that they've let Joe and Kamala have let people stranded to drown. Meanwhile, Kamala is at a fundraiser in Los Angeles. And then later on yesterday, after that, later on Sunday night, she was at a rally in Las Vegas, a campaign rally, while Rome was burning. Can you imagine this? Do you know there's towns in North Carolina? Listen to this. There are towns in North Carolina that have literally been wiped off the map. There are towns where they do not have cell phone service, water, and electricity. And gas. They're out of gas. They're waiting in line for 4 hours only to find out the gas is empty. Once it's out, it's out. And I want you to hear what the fire chief of Asheville, North Carolina says. He says the city has suffered a tremendous amount of wreckage. We need it very quickly. He said we're in urgent need of food and water. We need it very quickly. We cannot wait any longer. Our residents have been without food and water for 5 days in America, while Kamala is with top celebrities raising $28 million saying it's good to be home while people don't have a home. She said she sent out a picture of herself pretending to be on a meeting with FEMA. Trump rightly called it out, saying she's got the speaker phone thing in her ear, but it's not plugged into the phone. Pretending like she's on a meeting with FEMA and taking notes. This is like, as Dana Perino said earlier today on Fox News, this is like Bush when he flew over Katrina and looked from the plane. The optics are terrible. These are terrible optics. Where was Joe Biden? He was on the beach in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, while this was going on. So Biden was on the beach, sunning and enjoying his peace and tranquility. Kamala was in the rich folks with the rich folks in L.A. saying it's great to be home because this is who she is. And the people were dying and drowning. And we may have up to 600 dead. And that's what they were doing. Can you believe this? Trump went down to Valdosta, Georgia. You could see him standing in front of a complete building of some sorts that's broken down, totally, boulders, looks like a bomb blew off. And he brought in several truckloads of aid along with Franklin Graham, the son of Billy Graham, Dr. Billy Graham, who one of my dear friends worked with for 35 years as his publicist. And Billy Graham is the name of this group. What's her name on the 5 today? Judge said Samantha's Purse. Dude, it's Samaritan's Purse. I've been giving on and off to Samaritan's Purse for well over a decade. They're an amazing Christian charity group. Anyway, he was there with Franklin Graham. And Trump and Franklin Graham supplied a truckload of fuel, a couple truckloads of food, water, medicine, supplies, whatever it was, all sorts of great stuff. And meanwhile, Biden and Harris nowhere to be seen. So my question for you are, if you were in the middle of this disaster right now in North Carolina or Florida, who would you want to be leading the recovery efforts? Picture yourself. You have no home. You have no electricity. You certainly have no internet. You have no cell phone. And you have no food, and you have no water, and you have no electricity. This town I just mentioned in North Carolina, where the fire chief says our residents haven't eaten now, have had no food and water for 5 days. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Now, Trump was told by Governor Roy Cooper not to come along with Biden and Harris because, not that they were asking, clearly they weren't. They were at the beach. They were not even in the White House at the command center. Let me ask some questions on this. You're going to hear the White House confronted about this in a moment. But if you're in the middle of this disaster right now, who would you want leading the recovery efforts? How bad do you think Biden and Harris look in their response to this terrible, deadly storm? And what differences are you seeing between Trump's response and Kamala's response? 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Lines wide open. We got lots of time to put you on the air. Chime in right now. We'll get you right on. The fire chief of Asheville, North Carolina, says he said they just got their first water station, one water station in the town of Asheville, North Carolina, which is a very well-known town for tourism and celebrities and beauty and leftist stuff. So one water station in this complete town. Would you Google producer? I can't think. Winsler, Mr. Winsler. Would you Google the population of Asheville, North Carolina? Because I think it's going to be shocking. They have one water outlet for the whole town. We still need to open communications. We still need to get the roads and infrastructure back up, he says. And meanwhile, Joe's on a beach. Kamala's with rich people in, oh my gosh, full stop, 376,000 people. 376,000 people have one water outlet, according to the fire chief of Asheville, North Carolina. Do you hear that? This is sub-Saharan Africa, Somalia, Yemen. These are third world. This is Darfur. This is unbelievable third world conditions. Poor, dirt poor Mexico, rural dirt poor Mexico. This is what it literally is like currently in one of our cities with 367,000 residents. No food and no water and no phone and no internet service in a city of 367,000 for 5 days. And Biden doesn't show up and Kamala doesn't show up. But Trump does. Trump goes to where he was able to go. The governor of Georgia did not have a problem with him coming. He went to Valdosta, and he gave a lot of food away and everything. I told you about the aid. What a difference. Now, Trump accused Biden yesterday of sleeping at his beach house, and obviously, Kamala was at big events yesterday laughing and being with celebrities. Later on Sunday, after Trump came out, the Politico says, they got a timeline. After Trump appeared in Valdosta with aid and carrying and shaking the hands of hundreds of people that were there, after that, then Biden later said, I'm planning on visiting the impacted communities. After Trump was there, Kamala was shamed into going up into that plane and having a meeting because Trump beat her to everything, and he's not even our leader. Unbelievable, isn't it? Trump first built up his trip to the Helene-affected areas, the Politico says, on Truth Social Sunday by wondering aloud why Harris was attending fundraisers in San Francisco and Los Angeles when, quote, big parts of our country are devastated and underwater with many people dead. Dang straight, Skippy. This is the kind of treatment you're going to get under Biden-Harris. Eddie, Dallas, WBAP.
Am I on the air?
I think so. Let me check. Yes.
I love it. Well, let me tell you something. The country is being run by two peasants. Harris and Biden, scum-sucking peasants. We need Trump in there to do everything. We need a boss for the nation. That's why I voted for him in the first place, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I liked The Apprentice. Everybody liked his life coming up. Everybody wanted him as a president. As soon as he turns president, everybody's, come on. The guy's disrupting the the one world, the new world order. He's disrupting it, and people don't like it, but he's the man to run this country. And guess what? There's going to be a lot of closet voters for him who aren't going to tell the people around him that they voted for him.
I was listening to the Fox News panel this afternoon on Brett Baer's show, and they were saying that this could swing a swing state based on how Joe and Kamala take care of North Carolina and take care of Georgia. This could swing those two solidly in Trump's favor. And right now, I don't see Trump doing a darn thing wrong with either of those two, but I sure as heck see a lot being done wrong by Kamala and Joe.
I'm going to tell you what, her going to the border is the biggest insult I've ever seen from any politician other than Nancy Pelosi tearing up the speech for the State of the Union that Trump did. She's lucky. She's lucky she wasn't taken in the back. I'll tell you that much.
Well, Eddie, I appreciate your great call. And, doesn't it just seem amazing that Trump's instinct was to go help people and Kamala's and Joe's was to stay at the beach and go to Los Angeles, be with multimillionaire celebrities and raise $28 million in L.A. at the JW Marriott, eating beef Wellington, by the way, while they had no food and nothing?
Ask the Rothschilds, ask the Rockefellers, ask all the top elites, the Catholic Church, that fake organization. Ask all them what's going on, because that's who's controlling it all anyway. And, of course, our complete, utter, 100% bona fide propagandist media that is literally covering and literally zombifying anybody who's zombifiable, which is every left lunatic.
This is a horrible optic. This is a big win for Trump and a horrible loss for these two. Appreciate your call, Eddie. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Lines wide open. If you were in the middle of the disaster right now in North Carolina or Georgia, who would you want leading the recovery efforts, Trump or Kamala? And how bad do Biden and Harris look in their response to this terrible, deadly storm? 600 up to 600 could be dead. 133 confirmed on my last check. And what differences are you seeing between Trump's response and Kamala Biden's response? Trump already showed up with truckloads of aid already with Samaritan's Purse and Franklin Graham, Billy Graham's son. Amazing. All right, we'll take your call next at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. And one crazy leftist says this is God's way of punishing MAGA. I'll tell you who it is and what they said. That's coming up next on the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3 at 8:18. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Lines wide open, chiming right now. We're talking about the horrible Hurricane Helene that devastated Georgia and North Carolina. Have you seen the lakes turned into just massive debris floating all over their lakes? Their lakes, many of them have nothing but debris all over them, just floating. Do you understand that if you see it looks like Lincoln logs, the size of houses, are just crammed together over this lake? So, roads are totally gone, like good, nice roads. You got a before and after picture. Look at my Twitter feed. Follow me on Twitter. You won't miss any of this. At Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show. CHRISKROK. Confirmed last time I heard 133 dead. Up to 600 could be dead now, what reports are saying, because they're missing. Hundreds of people are missing. 600 is what I heard on Fox News late today, I believe it was. Anyway, you see these roads that are beautiful, and they're literally all the asphalt and everything's gone. It's incredible, like beautiful roads. This is all incredible. By the way, a former University of Kentucky staffer said, Hurricane Helene, what if God is punishing MAGA populations for their hate and hypocrisy? God just unloaded an entire can of whoop-a, and you guys still support Trump. What the F is wrong with you? And an act of God hammered you and you still didn't hear him. God's obviously mighty P word at MAGAs. How can you not see this? I don't wish this on anybody. Now, I want to play for you the unbelievably horrible response from Biden and Harris. And there's two different cuts I want you to hear. But first, I got to tell you this. Trump shows up in Valdosta, Georgia today, brings several truckloads of aid with Franklin Graham and Samaritan's Purse. He gives a 13-minute speech. He shakes hundreds of people's hands that are there to say hi. Many of these towns have no water, power, electricity, or even food, and no internet and no cell phone communications because the towers are all out. Biden, meanwhile, was on a beach in Rehoboth Beach. And yesterday, did you hear what he said yesterday? He's like, oh, no, I was there. Listen to this.
On the hurricane, Mr. President, why weren't you and Vice President Harris here in Washington commanding this weekend?
I was commanding. I was on the phone for at least 2 hours yesterday and the day before as well. I command. It's called a telephone. All my security people.
Okay, does that satisfy if you were sitting there with no home, no water, no food, no internet, no cell phone that works, and no gas, would you be satisfied with Joe Biden being on his phone for 2 hours yesterday and 2 hours the day before while he's on the beach the rest of the time, from what it seems like? Would you be satisfied with him not going to the White House and staying at his Rehoboth Beach home? And then are you satisfied if you were wiped out like this? Would you be satisfied with Kamala doing a $28 million fundraiser with celebrities like Alanis Morissette and Demi Lovato, Stevie Wonder, Lily Tomlin, Jessica Alba at the JW Marriott eating beef Wellington, and then going on that night to a Las Vegas rally? Would you be okay with that? If you were in the middle of this disaster right now, who would you want leading the recovery efforts? How bad do Biden and Harris look in their response to this terrible, deadly storm? And what differences are you seeing between Trump's response and Kamala Biden's response? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now. So Kamala Biden's response was she was raising money with rich folk in L.A. and then going to Nevada for a rally after that yesterday. And then today she shows a picture of herself flying in Air Force Two, just like George Bush when he flew over Hurricane Katrina. He later admitted that was a mistake. He should have gone to the ground there. So, and then she shows a picture of her. Look at me. I'm meeting while I'm on Air Force Two. And I'm meeting with the FEMA guy with her earplug in for her iPhone. But meanwhile, with the wire, the ones with the wire. Meanwhile, the phone is not plugged into the wire, the headphone jack. So she said she's pretending to be talking on the phone and it's not plugged in. So who would you want in running this disaster right now, leading the recovery efforts if you were in the middle of this disaster right now? And how bad do Biden and Harris look in their response to this deadly storm? It is unbelievably poor. Now, here is what this is really good too. Listen to this.
President Biden was at his beach house, and Vice President Harris was hosting political fundraisers on the West Coast. Is there a reason that they could not be here?
The president did exactly what a president in this moment needs to do, which is directing his team to take action.
Well, I don't think that's satisfactory at all. Here's MSNBC with Alejandro Mayorkas and his pedo voice.
I want to read to you something that the mayor of Canton, North Carolina said, talking about the frustration that a lot of people feel about the lack of communication. I'm
going to pause it right there, but wait till you hear this MSNBC anchor asking Mayorkas about reading off this letter saying it's unacceptable and disgusting. What's the conditions in his town for what Biden and all these people are doing. And you'll hear his response, and you're not going to like it. That's next at 33 after the hour on the Chris Kroc Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. And then we have more details about a Dallas woman who came home to her $1 million house to find 4 members, possibly of Tren Diadago, waiting inside, and they would beat her, tie her up, and hold her captive while they raided her house in North Dallas, y'all. That's coming up as well at 33 after the hour. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.
I want to read to you something that the mayor of Canton, North Carolina said, talking about the frustration that a lot of people feel about the lack of communication. Here's what he said. It is unacceptable and disgusting that in our time of need, cellular service for the entire region is blocked out. There's no excuse for that. I mean, we knew the storm was coming. I can't believe this is a normalcy. Is this a systemic problem? Is this something that is going to be more and more normal as we see more and more devastating storms? What do you say to people who are desperate to find out whether people they love are still alive?
I well understand the concerns expressed. These are people in the midst of a tragic hurricane. That is precisely why we and others have been deploying communications resources to ensure that communication is reinstated as quickly as possible. The reality is that the severity and frequency of extreme weather events are only increasing.
That's a lie. So she says this mayor is outraged that you and the Biden administration and Kamala, who's the vice president of the United States of America, failed to give us freaking cell phone coverage. In a time of dire need, you are with celebrities in Los Angeles partying, Kamala, at the J freaking W Marriott, pure luxury, and then on to Las Vegas for a rally, while we're sitting here with no power, no cell phone, no food, no water in many of these towns. And this guy is the first person that I'm aware of that pulls the climate change lie. I was learning today from Greg Gutfeld quoting Bjorn Lomborg. He is an expert in climate analysis and journalist. And he's got tons of statistics. He tells the truth about all this. It's all a lie. And here's what he said. He's a contributor frequently to the Wall Street Journal, for example, just so you understand. Anyway, and the New York Post, I guess, as of late as well. But the population of the United States of America has increased fourfold since the hurricanes were starting to be counted and everything like that. The population has increased fourfold. And so that's why you go from a certain amount of homes to 4 times the amount of homes. But worse, there's a reason why this is going on, because 50 times the people, the population on the east and west coast, on the coast where hurricanes strike, has increased 50 times what the population of the coastal inhabitants, the people, are, because everybody moves to the coast to be by the coast. So you have an increase of 50 times the population, a massive increase in the housing over the past 50, 100 years, whatever it is. And then you also have a population increase of 4 or 5 times what it was. So what does that mean? That means you're going to have more casualties, more houses being destroyed, particularly in the path of the hurricane that are off coastal areas. There's one of the many reasons why these things look worse than they used to be, but they're not. They're just as bad as they used to be. And this guy lies and points to climate change when people are freaking dying. There's up to 600 dead. And he talks about climate change? Biden didn't, that I'm aware of. Not yet. Neither did even Kamala. Yet. That's your answer from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. There's your answer, climate change. I want to shift gears to illegals, because I first reported this to you on Friday. We got the news that there was on Thursday or Friday, we got the news there was allegedly Trinidad Agua did a home invasion, tied up a North Dallas woman and beat her and robbed her blind. Now we have an actual physical news report from Daily Mail. And terrifying ordeal of Texas woman who returned to her quiet suburban home to find her 4 members of her violent migrant gang waiting outside. Trinidad Agua, they report, could actually be behind this attack. 4 Hispanic men lying in wait confronted the woman as she got into the garage of her Dallas house the night of September 21st, forcing her to the ground, pistol whipping her. It's a home on Ellsby Avenue in North Dallas. It's in Briarwood neighborhood, apparently. And this came out because the Briarwood Homeowners Association, HSA, released this. Also, it is a Dallas City Council member named Gay Willis who wrote publicly a home break-in and tying up beating of resident alleged to be by Venezuelan or other gang. So, she has been assisted and helped, of course. The victim was tied up, instructed to stay in the bedroom until the suspects left with property belonging to the victim. All right, so this could be the first major incident to be reported from Trinidad Agua in North Dallas. Dallas police have confirmed they're here. And they are working. Dallas police have admitted they're now working with other local agencies and federal partners to shut down Tren de Aragua in Dallas. The gang established its new headquarters on the U.S.-Mexico border just south. They're in Ciudad Juarez, just south of El Paso. Daily Mail investigation previously revealed Venezuelan illegals have infiltrated food delivery and ride-share apps, renting or buying accounts that do not belong to them and are showing up at your door illegally. So here's the deal, guys. Lock your freaking door and carry your weapon. And have your head on a swivel. They're here. My question is, and I got a lot more on all this. We also have Governor Abbott explaining why he started busing Kamala and Joe's illegals to New York. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. Actually, I'll tell you about that at 8:45. But we also have 8 illegal migrants that Kamala and Joe brought in, arrested over burglaries targeting flood victims. Because Tennessee was hit with this too. So 8 of Joe and Kamala's illegals arrested for looting and burglarizing flood-ravaged victims in eastern Tennessee. They were arrested in Washington County, Tennessee, September 29th, suspicion of burglary and or aggravated burglary. I could read you the names, but you don't need the names. You know what's going on here. Meantime, police say an illegal alien killed a St. Louis police officer in St. Louis. A Salvadoran illegal that Joe and Kamala also brought in, caught and released at the border, arrested for murdering his girlfriend in Maryland, in Montgomery County, Maryland. We also have a Salvadoran illegal charged with 3 counts of aggravated rape on Nantucket Island. Another different Salvadoran illegal raping a Nantucket child. A Brazilian illegal got away, one of Joe and Kamala's 2 million gotaways, charged in June with sexually assaulting a Nantucket resident. Also, a Guatemalan illegal who re-entered under Kamala and Joe, charged last month with sexually assaulting a Nantucket resident. All 4 of these separate illegals came in under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, arrested where our gotaways because they can't guard the border because they're invading it with the people they want. Arrested by ICE in Nantucket, a sanctuary state. Meantime, 13,099 murderers, 15,800 rapists, and 425,000 convicted criminals are roaming our streets. So my questions for you are, do you feel Kamala and Joe have put you and your family's safety at risk because of this illegal invasion? Do you feel Kamala and Joe have put you and your family's safety at risk because of this illegal invasion? Do you feel a lot more of Kamala and Joe's illegals are criminals than we're being told? Do you feel there's a lot more of Kamala and Joe's illegals that are criminals than we're being told? Do you know they brought in Tren de Aragua, the most horrifying, terrible gang that I'm aware of on this side of the Western Hemisphere? They're literally trying to take out Colombian cartels. They're in Colombia. They're in like 5 Latin American states and counting. And they're literally in the process of trying to take out the top drug cartel in all of Colombia. And do you agree with Kamala that this 4-year-long invasion, this one I can't wait to talk about with you too specifically, do you agree with Kamala that this 4-year-long invasion is all Trump's fault? You know, she blames him. It's over and over again. She said, if we had a bill, we could have signed it, but he refused to sign it. He told people not to sign it. I'm going to get into all that in a minute. But no, it's not Trump's fault. Lines wide open. Chime in right now. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. So here's the deal. Kamala's lying when she says this 4-year-long invasion is Trump's fault. There was a bill we could have signed, bipartisan. It was three Republican senators in the Senate. 3. And do you know there was 5 Democrat senators that voted against it? 5 Democrat senators voted against it. Bernie Sanders voted against it. Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas voted against it. And 3 other Democrat senators voted against it. 5 Democrat senators voted against it, and 3 Republicans voted for it. So do you see what this was? This was a rejected wholesale a bill. You know why? From our side, it would have allowed in 2 million illegals per year. 2 million illegals by law from this point forward. It would have codified 2 million illegals invade us every year for 4 years. It's 8 million illegals plus. There still will be about 2 million gotaways. Oh, and 600 plus thousand they fly in directly on the CBP One app that doesn't get reported. So that's 2.6 million a year. What is 2.6 by times 4, Mr. Winsler, producer? 2.6 million times 4. Is that like How many of that is in 4 years? 2.6 times 4. That's about what, 10.5, 10 point, or 11? 11 million a year plus 2 million gotaways. That'd be like about 13 million gotaways. It literally is almost the exact same amount we've gotten in this country under Joe and Kamala. Okay, 10,400,000. So there you go. Do you want 10,400,000 illegals coming in plus 2 million gotaways? Do you want 12.4 million illegals coming in over 4 years every 4 years? Does that sound like a good plan for you, a comprehensive plan? Does that sound like something you want? Would you vote against that? Or would you be okay with letting 12.4 million people in every 4 years, which is slightly less than now? Guess what else? It codified. We would have to pay for their lawyers. You and I would pay for the defense to stay in this country as illegals. It also refuses to send back children, and it also gives tons of money to the NGOs, non-government organizations, that are the last part of smuggling them into this country. And they're making millions. Like one NGO in Denver, like there's like 2 or 3 of them, but one of them is making like 2, 3, 4 million a year. They're getting wealthy and profiting, and they're pro-illegal. The NGOs are all over this country, all over the United States, and internationally based out of here. And Joe and Kamala, those are their friends, and they're becoming multi-millionaires. That's what they're doing with our money. This codifies an invasion, enriches Joe's friends who are part of the last part of the smuggling chain, and we pay for their lawyers to make them stay here. I mean, and they would give them work permits right away. Also, I mean, this is a total replacement of this country. She is a liar that never would have passed the House, wasn't going to pass the Senate. And if she's right, and if this was the answer, which it's not, I've laid out why, then why didn't she do it 4 years ago? Why didn't she keep all of Trump's orders in place and not revoke them until she passed this? Anyways, we know why, because she wanted it. Okay, I'm going to tell you how the crisis of illegals from Kamala and Joe is destroying a third small town, Whitewater, Wisconsin. Wait till you hear this. My brother went to UW Whitewater for his secondary degree as a graduate, I think. And I used to go camping in that area all the time with my buddies when we were in college, going up for the weekend and stuff. We're going to get into that coming up next. Oh, the big one, too, is Governor Abbott. He explains to the New York Post exclusively why he bussed the illegals to New York. It's a fascinating story. You'll hear it next on The Chris Crock Show at 8:48 on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3.
Them. And we were busing migrants initially only to the sanctuary city of Washington, D.C., so that people in Washington, D.C., the leaders there, will see firsthand the chaos they created. And then out of nowhere, Mayor Adams of New York started criticizing me for busing them to New York, which I was not doing. But he kept criticizing me, and I thought, you know what? New York is a sanctuary city, and if I'm going to get the criticism, I'm going to get the credit. And so we started busing them to New York, and then, as you know, it expanded to sanctuary cities across the United States. Mm-hmm. The sanctuary city, they volunteered to provide food and housing to migrants. And then when they had to actually live up to it, they couldn't do it. But you are right. Because of that process, people across the country began to understand this is not a Texas issue. This is a United States issue. And it made them focus on it politically, either at the city council level or all the way to the presidential level.
There's Governor Abbott to the New York Post on an exclusive, and dang, he did it. And he was right. It was a brilliant idea, and it worked, and it's working. Do you feel Kamala and Joe put you and your family's safety at risk because of this illegal invasion? And do you feel a lot more of Kamala and Joe's illegals are criminals than we're being told? The list is so long. Fox News' Jesse Waters, from his research, estimating around 5%, at least 5% of Joe and Kamala's illegals, 1 in 20, are criminals, are bad people. Do you agree with Kamala that this 4-year-long invasion is all Trump's fault? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now. Okay, so look, $2 million a year. This bill would have made $2 million a year coming in and still would allow 500. You still would have at least 2 million gotaways in the 4 years. Plus, you would have about 630,000 a year flown in still on the CBP One app. So you got $2.6 million a year for 4 years. Every 4 years, we keep getting that, and 2 million gotaways every 4 years too. And that is supposed to be the solution. It's a lie, and that's why it didn't pass. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Now, a couple of things I got to share with you as well going on. Chicago gangster, former Chicago gangster, he goes around helping kids to get out of the gangs and rescuing kids from it and fighting the gangs. He's a former gangland guy. Tyrone Muhammad. He called out Kamala Harris. We just heard about a vice president who says she's specialized in locking up and arresting transnational gang, while the very part that she's a part of the policies with the sanctuary cities and the border cities she supported, which is oxymoronic. Now we have to fight in Chicago. He says, now we have to fight transnational gangs and the influx of these men who we do not know where they come from, what crimes they committed, and the violence they've been involved with. We are on the front line every day, making sure communities are safe. They also say Venezuelan gangsters have now started to encroach on the territory of the city's gangs. There's been a lot going on with these migrant gangs nobody is even hearing about. They've been moving in their own territory, robbing people. This is a local Chicago gang member said. Oh my gosh, he's telling this anonymously to the New York Post. They've been robbing our own territory, robbing people, but they don't get arrested like we do. I actually talked to one of on the translator app. He told me all the things he's got going on, how they helped him get a car, an apartment, an EBT card, all this stuff. They're giving them thousands. Maybe we get maybe 400 a month, and they don't even have social security numbers. Sources from local Chicago gangs told the Post that members of the Venezuelan gang are often heavily armed and have begun spilling into areas controlled by local gangs of Chicago. Here's another thing we got. Bombshell report in Arizona on the other side of the border in Mexico. 4 rocket-propelled RPGs, rocket-propelled grenades, 8 improvisational explosive devices, that's IEDs, discovered in Mexico right close to the Mexico-U.S. border on the other side of Arizona there. So this is insane what's going on because of Biden and Harris. And then in Whitewater, Wisconsin, police chief says that we're starting to notice increased encounters with the illegals from Nicaragua and Venezuela since 2022. He estimates at least 1,000 illegals from Central America have invaded his city of 15,000. So 1,000 invaded illegal migrants, and 15,000 in Whitewater, a small town an hour outside of Milwaukee. No advance warning. A family with a young child was found living in an uninsulated garden shed in sub-zero temperatures. Reports of a fire discovered after 2 illegal children were sleeping alone on the floor of an apartment while the food burned on the stove. A migrant father was arrested for forcing his 14-year-old to work 30 hours a week rather than going to school. They found a body of a dead baby in a box near a trailer park. That's a migrant mother. She was arrested, identified as a Nicaraguan. Spikes in domestic sexual assaults. I'll tell you more of it later down the road. But this is everywhere. This is what they've done to us. This is what Joe and Kamala have done to us. Next, just how rigged is tomorrow's huge vice presidential debate going to be against J.D. Vance when he goes up against Tampon Tim Walz? I will tell you, you'll hear how biased they are, the moderators, coming up at 3 minutes after the hour. Next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Stand up.